Hello and welcome back. So in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how we can go back into the model tree of our parts and make some modifications to parts that we've already designed. I also want to show you how we can change the material of the part and how we can update the properties and a whole lot of other things with the metadata within the part itself. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So for this particular part, we're going to create the saddle bracket. And I'm going to bring up an image of that on the screen here for you if you want to model this up and follow along. But by now, I think you've got the basics of modeling up a basic part. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and model this up, and then we're going to go back together and do some revisions of the part. So I'll see you here in a little bit. All right, here we are back with our completed saddle bracket model. So what we're going to do next is go through the model tree and do some revisions, but also some modifications to the features themselves. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to rename my features that I have here inside of my model tree. So how you do that is you select on it once with left click, wait a little bit, and then click once more on your part, or sorry, on your feature. Then I can go in and rename that feature. And my first one I'm going to name base, because it's the base feature of my design here. And on extrusion 2, I'm going to call that circ underscore end for circular end. Hole 1's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to leave hole 1 as is. And then on extrusion 3, I'm going to rename that one rect underscore cut. So it's not necessary that you do this in a part design or an assembly design. The whole reason we do this, though, is to help us keep track of all the features that's inside the part. You may be designing a part that's very complex that may end up being 50 plus features, and going back through the model tree to try to figure out what is what can be difficult. So that is the reason that we do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my base feature. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to select the option here called Show Dimensions. When I do that, you can see that it shows me my sketch of my base feature with all the dimensions that I used on it, as well as it shows me the 2.5 inch extrusion input that I did, as well as you'll see this very strange 0 degree dimension up here. So something that happens with all extrudes and sweeps and other creation commands is that whenever you put in your distance to create the solid, you also have the option to taper it. And by default, it's set to 0. And we really don't get into adjusting taper on any of the features that we create. So for the time being, we're just going to ignore that. But to let you know that that taper does exist in all those creations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust some of the dimensions that I originally used to create my part here. And we're going to make it just slightly smaller. So on my 3.25 inch dimension here, I'm going to double click on that and type in 3. And then for my extrusion width, I'm going to double click on that. I want to make it 2 inches. Now you'll notice the numbers changed there, but nothing has affected the model yet. If you go up to the top menu or the top toolbar of Inventor, you'll see that we've got this little lightning bolt and a piece of paper that's active. That is our local update. After we make a change on our dimensions using Show Dimension, we have to click on this to enforce those changes on the part and update the model. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you'll see, once I did that, it did indeed make those changes, but we had some unforeseen consequences. Well, I knew they were going to happen, but you get the idea. So what happened when we shrunk the width of our part? If you remember, on the rectangular cut, our distance for that rectangle was 1.5 inches. And we had it start 1/2 inch away from our front edge. That becomes a problem because we shrunk this part down. Now, that 1.5 is cutting all the way through our saddle. So I'm going to go back into my Sketch 4 here. I'm going to double click on it in my browser tree, or if you want to, you can right click and edit sketch and it will do the same thing. My personal preference is just to double click on it. And I'm going to edit this dimension here. So we only want it to be 1 inch. If I do that, bam, the other legs of that saddle bracket appear. So this is the proper way to go back in and modify your solids or your parts. We don't want to use extrusions or other creation commands to quote unquote fix old features. That's a bad CAD practice, and we do not want to get in that practice, or sorry, we do not want to get in that habit. So always come back to your model tree over here and make the edits directly to the feature. All right, so we've got the width updated. The last thing I want to do is I want to go back into my base feature here. Again, hit the plus sign right there. That'll open it up and let you see the sketch. And I'm going to go into Sketch 1. Now, while we're in here, I do want us to take a look at the model tree. So you can see that the base feature, the circular end, the hole one, and the rectangular cut feature are all grayed out. We've actually went back in time in this particular part to square one where we're creating the sketch. So technically, those features don't exist right now. And this is kind of like the butterfly effect. We go in, we make a change to the past, and we see how it affects the future. Some of you may be too young to understand that reference. But what we're going to do now is add a fillet in right here on our part. And yes, it is pronounced fillet. It is not pronounced fillet. Fillet is a piece of meat. This is a manufacturing feature that we're talking about. But what I'm going to do is come up here, select my fillet tool inside of my sketch, and let's make that 1/2 inch in radius. And all you have to do is select those two lines, and it will create the fillet centered on itself here for you. Now, I do want to note there are several commands like fillet that have two different environments or two different functions of the feature. What we just did was a 2D fillet. We only use that inside of sketches. Later on, in some later videos, we'll talk about a 3D fillet and how we use it. My personal preference is the 3D fillet. It's a bit more powerful than the 2D version of it. But for today's video, we're solely just going to focus on the 2D fillet. But I've got that fillet added in there, so I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. And bam, right there, you can see that it updated and added that fillet in to our base feature that we originally started with. Now, because that feature, that additional feature we added in there, really didn't affect anything else besides that original base feature, my circular cut updated just fine, my hole updated just fine, and my rectangular cut updated just fine. So when we're solid modeling, we almost have to treat it as a chess match. We have to think a few steps ahead as we're modeling stuff up to think, is this going to break if I have to make changes to this part later? All right. And the last thing I want to show you before we call it good for this particular video is the eye properties of a part. Now, if you're an inventor and you don't see the eye properties icon up here, you can access those just by right-clicking on the part in the model tree and finding the eye properties there. I personally like having the shortcut up here on the toolbar, so if you hit that double white arrow right there, just go down and make sure that you've got eye properties checked, and it will pop up that little calculator looking box for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. You'll see it'll give us some general information about the part, what type of file it is, when it was created. Again, Inventor is not backwards compatible. In these newer versions it is, but it's still not the greatest. So it'll tell you what programs it can open with, where the part is located, its size, and the size on disk. Summary, basically you can put in general information about the designer, the company that they work for, so on and so forth. What's neat about the project eye properties is we can tie a lot of these directly back to Vault, to the description of our part that appears in a parts list or a BOM, the revision number, so we can keep track of all the revisions made to the part, estimated cost. We can tie this back into an ERP system. There's a lot that you can do inside of the project eye properties. For what we're learning right now, we're not going to worry about them. Later on, we will tweak them a little bit. Status, this is designated by Vault, so right now it's a work in progress. You can use different Vault states to change this and show approval dates and so on and so forth with custom parts. We can add in our own custom eye properties if we need to. And then on save, we can change some of the save settings here as well. But the one that we're really interested in is the physical property tab. This allows us to change the material of the part and also get information like the center of gravity, its mass, the surface area of it, its volume, so on and so forth. There's a lot of information we can glean from the physical tab here. Now to change the material, we can do it in the eye properties by going to the materials section. If you click on that drop down, you can see Inventor has a ton of different materials in here that are already preloaded. I could even turn my part into water if I needed to. So if I select water, hit apply, and you'll see that my part is now made out of water. You might be wondering, well, why in the heck would I want to do a part made out of water? One application that I've used in the past is to find a water weight fill of a pressure vessel. So you can actually go in and model out the liquid inside of a pressure vessel and turn it to water and figure out the weight that way. So there are uses for it, even though it is kind of goofy. But what we want to do, let's go ahead and change this part to aluminum 6061. And you can see the color and the edges of my part change depending on what I pick. So it's a very easy way to see if your part is the correct material or not. So if I go down here to titanium, you'll see it gets a little bit lighter and the edges kind of become a brownish orange color. But what that allows us to do, so we come back to our properties, go back to our physical tab, you can see that it updates the properties of my part. It gives me the mass, the surface area, the volume, where my center of gravity is located at, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot that you can do as long as you assign the correct material to your parts. But that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully now you can go back and successfully edit or revise your parts learned a little bit about the properties, and most importantly, how to change the material of your part as well. So we'll continue to build on this on later videos, but for now, that's all we've got. So in the meantime, be inventive.